Ever since I gained that clarity on my purpose, it's just been like unlimited fire, basically. You basically be doing all the things you want to do right now and enjoying your life. When your life is focused on helping others, there's no end to that growth.
Welcome again to the True You podcast. Bill and I have a special guest today, which is going to be exciting. It's Jake Turner. Say hello, Jake, so they can hear your voice.
Hey, how's it going?
So Jake works in the medical field, but he's here as a coach today with us. And he's a deep thinker. He listens carefully to his clients. He builds strong structures with them for health and discipline, and helps them scale their business and create freedom in their life. His mission is to change that usual way that we work, where we're not free and we're not doing our best, and to unlock building a legacy and not get burned out. So he says in his LinkedIn bio, if you're ready to scale your business in your life, message me. So that's who we're talking to today.
If you're ready to scale. At first I thought you said scare. That wouldn't have made sense.
Don't be scared of scaling.
So that opens my first question. Like, who are your clients, generally speaking? Who and what are they scaling?
So founders and executives. So founders can relate to, I know you guys can too, having a coaching business. It's easy to relate to that, in all different aspects of being a founder. So feeling burnt out, feeling alone, people don't feel like you have someone that you can talk to. Mm-hmm. And then finding ways to manage all the different areas of the business, from sales and marketing to hiring people, learning to let go of things. Mm-hmm. So all different stages.
And how do they find you?
So I reach out to people even through DMs, or I get people just who follow the content. Mm-hmm. And so through LinkedIn, Instagram, I do Facebook as well too, but Instagram's the biggest one right now. And then of course I have a podcast as well too. So
mm-hmm. What's the name of your podcast, Jake?
It's pretty original. It's a Jake Turner podcast. So it's on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Yeah, you must have hired a consultant for that to get that name of the podcast, huh?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. He has this very similar name to myself.
His rates were good. So tell me, I'd like to know more about you, Jake. So yeah. Marty met you and had conversations with you. This is the first conversation that you and I have had. So I'm similar to the listening audience. I want to get to know you. And what I'm curious about is, at what point did you begin to see yourself as a coach? How long ago, and what inspired that?
So I've always been a leader. I think when I was getting coaching, so I still use coaches. That's one thing. It's like a pet peeve of mine. If people were coaches and they're trying to sell coaching, and then it's like, oh, what coaches do you use? Like, oh, I don't have any coaches. It's like, well, how much do you believe in coaching? If you
right.
You don't have any coaches yourself, So I still have coaches for fitness, for dating, for business, for marketing tools. And so one of the coaches was like, you should be a coach. And I'm like, okay, and a couple of years ago, I guess about 3 years ago now, maybe a little bit longer, I started doing social media content. And then I decided I really go all in on anytime I do anything. And so I want to say I want to do it right, but I pull a lot of effort in everything I do. And so I want to become a legit coach. So I went through IPEC to get certified. And so that was like a year and a half. It's a little pricey too. It's a big investment, like $13,000, and you can't just do it in a year. It's usually about a year and a half to get everything done. It's quite a time commitment along with the money commitment. And so, yeah. And then after getting close to finishing that, I was kind of trying to figure out who do I want to coach, or what am I going to do with this? I was going through a tough relationship at the time. And then after I got out of that, got refocused, I was like, okay, I'm going to go all in on starting a podcast and dialing in my niche and just really became clear on my purpose that I'm here to help others. And so I believe my mission, my purpose in life is to be love and share love with others. And so, yeah, ever since I've gained that clarity on my purpose, it's just been like unlimited fire, basically. It's just like this is just tons of drive. And that's why I think it's so critical to know what your vision, your purpose is, and have that like crystal clear picture of it, because it directs everything else in your life.
This is one of the things that we talked about. We both found or find on an ongoing basis, like that alignment piece. When you know you're perfect, like I'm here to help people. I'm a leader. I'm all in, and I'm here to help people. That like there's this force that sort of like moves things along when you align. This is one of the things that we talked about. One of the reasons I thought, we got to have him on, because that's what we talk about. I mean, that's one of the aspects. It's one of the ways you keyed into the true you, because there's energy behind it.
Right, exactly. And that misalignment, which I don't know if you made that. There's one coach I talked to who had this interesting analogy, but if it's that misalignment.
That was me.
So it creates that tension. I love your analogy to it, to where it's like if you're driving a car and the tires are going all different directions,
right?
And what you need to get your tires, yourself, your life aligned, and that's how you're going to get somewhere. Because if not, if you're pulled different directions, or I think of a way of too is like if you had your phone set with 3 different GPS apps and all going different directions, going off at once. Like, whoa, it's just complete chaos. How do you know where to go? You're not going to get anywhere, and it's just going to be a lot of noise and chaos in the meantime.
Yeah. I interrupted your series of questions, Bill?
Oh, I didn't have a planned series of questions. I was just going with the flow. Yeah, it's good that you just jumped in when you had something to say, Marty. That's fine.
Okay.
But my original question was, so what how long you've been coaching and what inspired you to be, and I think you've answered that. You said that you've had several coaches. Who was your first coach?
Let's see. My first coach would have been David Meeson. He's a dating coach. And so, but sometimes you'll find with certain coaches that it's not just like in his aspect, it's not just about dating. His stuff is, motivation, getting your life together. A lot of his stuff is it's the whole picture of your life, your sleep, your nutrition, how you think about things. The value in yourself, those things that builds you as a person, and then that makes you an ideal person. And also, it's not just dating. His whole marketing and purpose is to find a life partner. And so it's, again, what you're focusing on, what your goal is at the end of the day, that will direct you a lot. So yeah, he's a good friend of mine. I actually had him on, I went to Dublin and did a podcast with him. He's a great guy. He's a character for sure.
So it sounds like he had a pretty comprehensive approach to coaching. What it sounds like it was an excellent first experience with coaching.
Yeah.
And at that point, were you at all ever thinking about, boy, I could do this, and this is something I'd like to do as well, or something like this?
Yeah, he's one of the original ones that came to me. He's like, you should be a coach. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, well, what does that look like? Because I think it reinforced in the fact, for me, if you want to improve others, the best way to do it is to lead by example. And so a lot of things that I help people with, or just to help people around my life in general, is it's very important for me to lead by example. So I'll never tell someone to meditate or do exercises in the morning. Like I consider doing like streaming live. Like you can wake up in the morning and like there's certain times of the day I'm doing a simple exercise routine called foundation training, and I do Tony Robbins priming every day. I mean, it's just like clockwork. And the things I recommend to people, it's because I'm doing those things myself. And when you test so many things in personal development, You learn what things, oh, they kind of work, they kind of don't. Like I was joking or talking about earlier, I took an energy drink, but like, say for example, I've taken ketones before as well. And I'm not recommending any of this stuff per se. You can do your own thing, but I trial and error things, and if something doesn't really work, like ketones doesn't really work for me, I'm like, okay, it doesn't work for me. So I like to be transparent and do things that work, and then be content, but then also continuously look for growth, because the growth is what like makes you feel alive and feel good, and that's what creates that happiness. But at a baseline, being content, and then finding things to add happiness in your life.
This reminds me a little bit of Tim Ferriss.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of him as well.
I was going to guess you probably are a big fan of Tim Ferriss. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I really
I got a lot of that first book, The 4 Hour Work Week.
Oh yeah, I love the Mexican fisherman parable. I'm sure you're aware of that story.
I'm not. Can you share it?
Oh, yeah, of course. So that book I love so much because I was introduced to that parable in it, and I bought the book again just to read the parable. So the Mexican fisherman parable basically is, there's a investment banker, and he is on vacation in Mexico, in the Caribbean area, and he sees this Mexican fisherman. Now, the fact that he's Mexican doesn't really apply much to the story, but so this guy's fishing, and he's just reeling in the fish, and the investment banker's like, wow, you're really good at fishing. Like, what do you do once you catch all those fish? And he's like, well, I go home, and I take them to the market and sell them, and then I go take a nap with my wife, and then I go into town and have some drinks and play guitars with my buddies. But the investment banker's like, don't you understand? Like, you could teach people how to fish the way you do, and then you could buy a bunch of boats, and then you can make a ton of money, and you can do whatever you want. And the fisherman's like, well, what would I do then? And the investment banker's, well, yeah, I don't know. You could go take a nap with your wife, or you could live in a Caribbean area, or you can go in town and have some drinks with your buddies, whatever you want. And he's like, well, that's what I'm doing now. And so there's a couple key lessons to that. One is, you basically doing all the things you want to do right now and enjoying your life. You don't have to wait. And Tim Ferriss' example in the book is, people often think they have to make way more money than they do to really enjoy their life. They think like, oh, I think an example he used in the book was like, one guy wanted to rent a motorcycle and drive through Thailand, but he thought he needed to make $1 million a year to do that. And they calculate how much it costs, $3,000. It's like, well, just make $3,000 and then go live this lifetime experience. And so it's a constant reminder of like, I think of this concept recently. It's when founders compare it to sacrificing all their time and their energy for their family. And it's like, well, I got to work really hard, and then, I can spend time with my family. But it's really like saying, like, I'm not going to spend time with my family, so then I can spend time with my family. It's just totally backwards. You can do the things you want to do right now, and you should really carve out the time for it, because there's a cost to it, especially when you think about time is not guaranteed, and that time with people is not guaranteed, and it's a huge risk to not be spending time with your family and your friends, or living out, or at least trying to accomplish your dreams.
Yeah, when you don't know what shape you're going to be in when that day kind of comes, given that you've been overworking yourself, for all the intervening 20 years, you might not, like, this is what happened to my father, actually, when he finally retired, and that was going to be those golden years. He was sick. He'd worked himself to the bone. And so it wasn't, seize the day. So it sounds like part of the way that you help people is you get them to see what's right in front of them.
Right, exactly.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because when I was just getting introduced to coaching, and so there might be like a generational difference between us as coaches in our training. Everybody said, don't use the word help. Don't tell people you want to help them. Nobody wants to be helped. If you tell somebody they need help, they'll run away. So I have that in my head, right? And yet we all want help. Ultimately, we want to be helped.
Right.
So I wonder, I'm just curious, like that's why I was struck by, well, it sounds like a big part of what you provide in the way of help is to show people that they don't need much more than, they just need to recognize what's right there and seize the day. So could you speak about this helping piece?
Yeah, I think some people like do want help. Now, whether they can ask for help, that's a different story. I guess I'm just curious, very curious as a coach, why did they say people don't like you shouldn't offer help to people?
Because it means that they're less than you. Like
Uh, okay.
I need your help. I'm not as good, or I'm not as, whatever. I'm lacking something you've got, so you got to help me, and I don't want to be put in this lowly position.
Interesting. I never heard of that before. I mean, I could see it that way, but I guess I just would wonder, like, if do people really like feel that way when they really want help? You know what I mean? Like, if I fell down and broke my leg, it may not necessarily be like, hey, I know you're better than me, but like,
Yeah,
I'm just
well,
think,
that's
I think,
that's a great thing to point out, because I think that's part of why in the coaching field, like I said, this was my training, and it might
yeah.
not be relevant anymore, but that, it's like saying, yeah, oh, you're broken as compared to me, so I need your help, right? And then, or it was associated with psychiatry. Oh, he needs help. He's got a
Mm,
problem up here.
I see.
He needs help. So, like, some sort of brokenness, like, just like you pointed out, in those cases, yeah, we want help, right? But if it's just about, doing better at my business, I don't need help like that, right?
Well, yeah. Well, when I think of that, in those type of people, I don't want to help anyway. You know, because you necessarily can't help someone if they don't want to be helped. I
Yes.
mean, that's just how it is. I mean,
Mhm.
and I think people who aren't willing to pay either, they're not going to pay attention. And so I don't necessarily offer to coach people for free, just like I don't offer to give people advice, because they're not going to listen to it because they're not invested in it. So
Mhm.
that's why leading by example, I think, is the best way.
I
People
see.
can see me in shape, or I'm a dirt bike rider. If they see me going fast on the track, or my bike looks really nice or something, they might be like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing?"
Right.
Versus like if I come to them, okay, here's how we need to fix your dirt bike, and
Right.
here's my ab routine, and they start telling someone, they may like, yeah, whatever. They're not gonna listen to it. So I think it comes down to today how to influence people, how to inspire them, how
Mhm.
to, I don't know if help is the right word, but giving wisdom and advice to people who are actually seeking it and finding it valuable.
Yeah.
Because if I can coach people for free and it's going to help them, great. But if I coach them for free and doesn't help them, and if I coach them and it costs money and that actually helps them, then what should I do? Well, I should charge someone for it. It's unfortunate that it's that way, but
Mhm.
some things in life just are the way they are, and I just choose to accept them, and that's okay. And the sooner you can learn how certain things work in life and just accept them for what they are,
Yeah.
and just like fight against how reality is, then you can make progress with it, and then you can influence the world for the better once you figure out how certain things in life work. And everything's different, of course.
No,
So here's
I like your approach. Go
yeah,
ahead, Bill.
and that's where I'm going. Is so you work with founders. You said there were two categories of people that you work with: founders
Executives.
and executives. Okay, so what would
Mhm.
be a common, let's just say, request or challenge that one of your clients might bring to you?
So time's a big thing. People wondering how to use their time strategically and wanting to get more time back. And then that comes with a whole slew of problems to where it's, if they could hire someone like an assistant, people don't even realize, like, oh, if you don't have an assistant, guess what? You're the assistant. And then even if you hire one, then it's being able to let go of things, and to where no one is going to be you. They're not going to be able to do something at the speed and accuracy and things that you can. But if someone can do it at 80% as good as you do, then great. Or with founders, executives too, once you get to a certain level of things, or in life, you have a certain level of motivation. So I'm a big visionary person. I want to do, I do anesthesia still. I podcast. I'm doing all these different things. It can get lonely. You can feel alone because not a lot of people think like you, but that's okay. And so realizing that is for what it is, and then having someone like a coach you can talk to who's actually going to listen to you. Because most people, when you talk to them, they don't listen. And talk to them in confidence with no judgment too. When you talk to someone and then you don't judge them, and you can make people feel seen and heard, it's such a good feeling. And so those are some of the top things: communication, finding ways to set boundaries. You're talking to someone in legal, they're going to be a lot different than a CEO or a founder executive is, or even like an administrative role, like people who are in a supporting role, they act and think a lot differently than someone who's in a CEO position. And that's okay. But just realizing the differences, what drives them, what motivates them, how to communicate with them, so you all can be on the same page for a vision and work together.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a misperception of those that haven't had coaches, or who might even have a bias against having a coach. And that misperception might be helped out by people that call themselves coaches, but probably don't last very long. And these are people who put the coach hat on and then think that they have to be the expert in whatever area that their client is. So I know Marty has for years worked with financial advisors. Am I right, Marty? You're kind of moving your body.
I didn't study finance or at all.
Right. So, but you're the expert for them in what would you say? You are an expert as a coach, but you're not an expert in financial advising. What are you the expert in? I'm asking you, Marty, and then I want to.
Yeah, well, I would say in how to live life powerfully.
Okay. And I'll ask you the same question, Jake. So with your clients, you can't possibly be the expert in all these different areas that where you meet your clients. What are you the expert in?
My expert in through coaching is finding what drives people and what their limiting beliefs are, and coaching who you are as a person. Because a lot of these how-tos are the same. You can Google it or AI. I'm not always the biggest fan of AI. I think the more authentic and real you can be, the better. But as you guys know, through coaching, sometimes people will be like, I'll use an example. Someone's like, oh, I have trouble saying no. And then, okay, so that's the problem, they say, right?
Yeah.
But then you ask a couple questions, and it's like, well, I might be related to my childhood. And then, oh, yeah, my dad wouldn't show up to my birthday parties, and, I thought it was my fault. But without some focus in sitting in a problem thing, like, where are these beliefs actually coming from? It has nothing to do with the technique and the conversation, the words being said of saying no. It has everything to do with this past experience and limiting belief of this person. We'll call them Ryan, for example. It's not the person's name, but little Ryan, what he experienced and went through, that's just not true. And so that is what's important, being an expert at finding out and coaching who you are as a person, because that is what creates permanent change.
Yep, that's right. Exactly.
Right. And that sounds like some of that IPEC training that you got.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm definitely grateful for that, because you don't have to be an expert, like I said, in finance or certain things, because you coach who you are as a person. And some people just don't even know who they are until they're asked. That's one of the most important questions I got asked when I was trained. Someone just asked, who are you? And then you have to explain that. And it's like, oh, wow, like this is a deep question. But once you answer that, it solidifies you in like who you are. And then there's a lot of confidence in that.
Yeah, I have another quick example, and then I have a question to follow. I'm coaching a young guy, like I don't even know if he's quite 30 yet, but he's coming up in the ranks at a private equity firm in New York City. He's smart, he's diligent, he's got everything he needs, but he has this notion that goes back to something his parents said to him. And then and this is when they had just come over from Pakistan and settled in the United States, and he was the only brown kid in class, that he's in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's has been the ceiling to his progress, is he doesn't want to be in the way. So he doesn't raise his hand in meetings. He shies away from even asking girls out. Like it's because he doesn't want to be in the way. So when we nailed that down, it was just getting to know him, asking him what happened in the meeting? Why didn't you speak up? What is this? And I was able to get this identified, this thing this internal structure is what I would call it, called I'm in the way. And once that was identified, it's funny because he came back to me after he started showing up more, and he said, gosh, I had no idea that this is how coaching was going to help me. I thought you were going to be hitting me about my numbers and making me run laps and and
Right.
it turned out to be this internal conversation. That's what freed me up. And now I'm in line for a junior partner. He said, I would never have thought that that's how I'd get there.
That's so cool. What's so ironic is that he was in his own way.
Yeah. That's almost always the case.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You got him to get that breakthrough. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, so it sounds like part of the true us, the true NEU, is that we've got everything we need. We're already, got the beautiful place in the Caribbean and know how to fish and have a beautiful wife and friends to go out for a drink with. And yet we're in our own way. That is part of the true you, is that you're in your own way. There's nothing else in the way.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely.
It's kind of a conundrum, though. Like, wait a minute. Why do we get created that way?
Well, do we get created that way? All right. So I think we get created as the true you.
Uh-huh. And I'm just saying that true you also involves internal obstacles.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because in any moment you can choose to be seeing what's lacking or what's already there, what's grateful. I mean, that's what perfect example of that. I'm glad you haven't heard before, because the Mexican fisherman parable, I mean, he's got everything he needs right there. Mm-hmm. And finding more ways to be grateful and just appreciate things, it's truly freeing. And finding ways to make it very easy for you to feel good as well.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how powerful that is. I am in year 11 of a daily gratitude practice with a friend of mine who used to live where I live and moved from the Northwest, Spokane, Washington, to Phoenix, Arizona. And at the last day that I talked to him while he was still here, I said, we should stay in touch. And he said, yeah, let's do that. And I realized, that isn't going to happen. Not unless we have a plan. If we don't have a plan, we both commit to it, we're not going to stay in touch. And I kind of want to stay in touch with this guy. So I said, but what would you think of doing sharing gratitude with each other every day? We ended up using Marco Polo. At first we were doing it via text, and then we used Marco Polo, where we actually make videos now. And we looked at 5 things that we're grateful for every single day. And I've missed a few days. He's missed maybe a day or two in that time, but 11 years running now, practically every day, 5 things that I'm grateful for. And I think it has really moved the needle.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I'm not surprised by that, honestly. I mean, I learned this maybe it's 3 years ago now, but I basically don't have bad days. I learned it from this guy, Jeffrey Holst, where he had this amazing mindset I had on my podcast, where ever since he was 17, he developed this thing where he just doesn't have bad days. And so every morning I look in the mirror and I say, today's a good day. Today's a good day. Today is a good day. And come to find out a couple of years later or whatever, there's science on it and people are saying in different areas. And it's like, oh, no surprise. This stuff actually works. Now I'm not having an amazing day. Bad things do happen to me, but it creates this baseline of contentment that it makes you see things more beautifully. It makes you really appreciate things. And other times where I'd be stuck laying in bed or sad or depressed, I can still keep going. And so that is amazing. You do that gratefulness practice.
It's about where you put your attention. I mean, you could get up and drool or not drool, but like get depressed about the news, read the news first thing and just like, oh my God, this world, how awful, and then, look at yourself in the mirror and critique your own body. And you could fill your attention for the whole day with things or you could get up and be grateful, tell yourself it's going to be a good day, look at the fun things you get to do. It's all about what I hear you guys saying. I'm trying to summarize what I just heard. It's about where you put your attention.
Are you looking for a way to apply IFS in your everyday life? The Compassionate Results Guidebook can help. It blends IFS with coaching to help you work with your parts, make self-led choices, and live in the world authentically. You can order your copy on Amazon or learn more at compassionateresultsguidebook.com. Now back to the episode.
Yes. Yeah, in routine, I set up ways where it's very hard for me not to feel motivated or get momentum. So first thing in the day, I feed my dog and I do I call them incantations versus affirmations. I don't say today's a good day in the mirror. I say today's a good day. Today's a good day. Today's a good day. And then I take him for a walk. I do a short exercise called foundation training on YouTube. YouTube is 12 minutes. Do Tony Robbins priming all before I do anything else, before I even look at my phone. And so that's almost an hour of no phone time before I start. And so then I'm primed, ready to go for the day. And then maybe do some short exercise afterwards where I listen to, I'll look up YouTube, motivational speeches, right? So even if you're not motivated after a half hour, 45 minutes of just hearing these things, it's the routine. Or if I'm already motivated, I'm just like, let's go. But developing these habits to where if you're doing an hour and a half every day of things that usually work for you, they're inspiring, whether it's a different video, routine, or whatever you do, and you just make yourself do those things, it's like if you have a cold engine certain days, you're power starting it. And so just you make that engine go. It's where you're not waiting for motivation, inspiration. You develop the system, the way to get the engine going.
So it sounds like then part of the routine needs to be having somebody who helps you see where you're putting your attention on negativity and attend to those things, not just ignore them like you did, with your client and I did with mine, in our examples. Like we showed them, the where the idea came from that they were using to disempower themselves, and they got to attend to that and make life work with it, as opposed to just ignoring it. So it's what I'm saying is it sounds like part of a powerful routine is to have a time to look at those. So we have time to be motivated, and we have also time to look at what's dismotivating or unmotivating us, so that can be healed or relieved.
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest advantages of having a coach is to see blind spots. So I think a lot of stuff with my dirt bikes can compare to engines. So with like a coach, it's like, oh, my engine's like, something's wrong with it. Something's running slow. And a coach would be like, oh yeah, look, your air filter's clogged. Or a rag fell down in your engine. Let's get that out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, no surprise. It's running a lot better. You can breathe. You can get through that now. All that weight is lifted off of you. You got rid of all the gunk. But you need a coach to have those blind spots and observe those things that we're not aware of our own blind spots. That's what they're called. blind spots.
Yeah. No, Bill has actually pulled a couple rags out of my engine many times. I think you even use one of them, the recording of it as instruction in your training. Is that still true?
Oh, I don't recall. You might have to remind me more about that.
Was a time when I felt stuck because I felt like I couldn't be my creative self.
Yeah.
And you took me way back to being a young kid, and my parents, especially my dad, not appreciating that my train set up, and it all worked, and the go-kart that I built out of scrap lumber in the alley, and once I saw that, I shed a number of tears that day. It was like quite a breakthrough for me to pull that rag out and see, like, oh, that's what's got me stuck here.
To answer your question, no, I'm not using that for any training anymore, but thanks for reminding me of the session. That was very powerful.
It was very powerful, and it was exactly, what Jake was just describing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Jake, when you're working with your clients, what do you find challenging?
I guess what can be challenging is, well, one, finding people that want to help themselves. And so I like to make sure if I'm working with someone, they're really ready to make a change, which is usually related to pain. People will pay for coaching, or they're really ready to make a change when something is really painful in their life.
Yeah.
If they're a 6 out of 10 in a certain area of their life where, like, oh, their job's, it's not so bad, there's some things, or a relationship, yeah, no, they're kind of mean to me, but like they're nice other times. That can be a lot harder to get people to move to where if someone is in 10 out of 10 pain, they're like, okay, like, cut the leg off. I don't care. This hurts so bad. Just, I want to cut it off. Or what I had to learn too was I guide people through the solution. And so you got to let go of your own, I don't know if it's your ego or your own thought of thinking like, oh, I know what this person needs to do.
Right.
Because even if your idea is, we'll say, better, or you think it's better, if the client doesn't come up with the idea on their own, they usually are not going to act on it. And so it's different to get people to come up with their own idea to fix the solution. But again, it's that kind of counterintuitive thing to where the coaching isn't going to work typically if people don't pay for it. Just like if they don't come up with the idea of the solution to themselves, they may not necessarily implement it. If I'm like,
that goes back to the help thing, by the way, but
yeah, it's like if you compare it to working out, if someone's like, oh, I want to get a 6-pack, I'm like, if I'm thinking like, okay, they need to do an ab roller, right? But then they're like, I think I just need to do some crunches. I'm like, you're right, you just do some crunches. It's gonna be the same thing, but because they came up with the idea of doing crunches, they're gonna actually do the crunches. They're not gonna use the ab roller just because they didn't come up with the idea.
Yeah, and actually, people don't want to be told what to do.
Yeah, it's very true.
Right.
Yeah. So what is the trick? Or maybe not, I don't want to put it like there's a trick. What are some of the ways? And I'm thinking about this as I'm asking the question, because I do the same thing, but I haven't stopped to think about how is it that I get them to come up with the solution themselves. And 90% of the time it is what I was thinking of, but they need to come up with it. How do we do that as coaches?
I think there's lots of different ways. So getting people first comfortable with who you are as a coach. So understanding that, when I'm talking to you, I have your best intention. I love you. I care about you. I want what's best for you. I'm really making you feel seen and heard and not judging you. People are then already in a good space. Then it depends what they are dealing with. So say someone in their life, a coworker, is really causing them problems. They're really getting at them. They know what to say to them. There's a technique called button pushing, to where you basically think of there's a button and someone is pushing it, and what I can tell the client is, we'll just imagine snipping the wires to the button. And so that can be very freeing, because like they can push the button on all they want. They're like, oh, well, button doesn't work.
That's great. Yeah. Image.
And so,
Image.
yeah. Yep. And so that's one technique. Or reframing is a lot of big things.
Yes.
It's a big thing in coaching. So usually taking a thought that is not very empowering and then getting them to imagine a more powerful thought. And usually the thought they come up with then it sticks with them. Right. And they might have to do it a couple of times, and they think of a thought where they're like, I'll use an example. Someone's talking to founder. Most people feel like this as founders, they feel like they're on a hamster wheel. And so like a hamster is running on the hamster wheel, right? But I asked them what a more empowering thought would be. And they came up with they're like a hamster in a convertible, like cruising through life. And I'm like, all right, cool. And so, but that worked for them, and that's how they thought of it. They're like, you know what? I'm still getting stuff done, but you don't have to have this sense. A lot of founders feel like it's this constant low level stress, just always kind of there. Well, you can realize it's there, but you kind of can drown it out. And you realize this constant stress is always going to be there, but it doesn't have to be right in front of your face. It can be there, but kind of more in your periphery versus right in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good, because then the mind automatically goes to work like, well, what do I need to change in order to be a hamster cruising around town, in a beautiful car, as opposed to running the wheel? Well, that would mean that I would need to, do X, Y, and Z to change that. That's beautiful. Well done.
That idea reminds me of our brilliant fellow coach, Paula, that's in our coaching excellence team that meets on Friday mornings.
Yeah.
So Jake, we have a roughly 30 minutes out of an hour every Friday morning where we share our wins and gratitudes. And then we shift to who's got a challenge. And there's five coaches in the group. And so we'll pick one or maybe even two of the coaches that have challenges, and then we'll try to coach them and help them through their challenge. And I don't recall exactly what the challenge was, but it seemed to me that it was a challenge faced by the entire group, like an administrative coordination sort of thing. And we were kind of at odds with each other. And Paula introduced this idea that one person could come up with an idea and they would present it in this way. Well, what if we did blah, 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 blah? And then the next person would take that and say, here's what I like about that idea. And what if we built on that and did this too? And then the next person in line does exactly the same thing. And what we noticed was it worked beautifully. We just continued to kind of climb on the shoulders of the person with the idea and build and build and build and build. And pretty soon we had a unified vision of what we wanted to do as a solution. And I just thought it was amazing. And I've used it a lot since then with clients and groups.
That's very cool. It makes me think of, I went to like an improv class just for fun. I love comedy and stuff like that. And it was related to coaching too, because a lot of it you do this concept, it's like yes and. And so you basically agree, and then build on top of it.
Exactly.
Yes, and also, crunches and roller.
Right. Yeah, I like her idea. And let's do this. Also, it made me think about energy a lot, because in improv, it wasn't always the actual words coming out that were the funniest. It was the person's energy. And so getting your energy level, the highest level you can, is going to make everything in your life so much more successful. So I think focusing on your energy, whether it's endurance, the impact you're going to have on people, it's such an important focus.
Now, if we run that idea through the idea of being true self, being who I really am, and we pointed to this at a couple times in this conversation already, that when I'm being who I really am, I'm energized. And so it's not as simple as just turning the knob to my facade to my true self. But there certainly is a noticing. I mean, I could look at a gauge and notice how I feel. And if I'm feeling in the low energy stage, a good question might be, am I in my facade, or is something up that I'm not addressing that needs to be addressed? And so if I'm in my facade, I might be able to just intentionally shift from, I don't need to be doing that anymore. I don't need to be trying to get somebody's approval. I'm just going to show up as who I actually am in this moment. And guaranteed, if I can pull that off, my energy is going to boost, as opposed to the idea that I need to go somehow generate a bunch of energy and then just bring it. That's effortful and it's exhausting. Have you noticed? And whereas just being who I am, if that brings energy, that actually generates more energy. It builds upon itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's pure and it's totally sustainable because I don't have to do anything else to be me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, I'm not saying you should exercise or do energy drinks or different things. You can do those things if it's aligned with who you are. Like, I love to exercise. It just also happens to increase my energy. Now, if that's not who you are, then it just depends on the type of exercise, but I'm not a tennis player, but playing tennis might actually, in a way, kind of drain my energy. Because I don't want to do this.
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it.
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it, I don't enjoy at the moment like snowboarding per se. Not that I can do a lot of it here in Nashville, but it's just not what I enjoy. So when I ride dirt bikes, I always talk about a lot. It's like, this is who I am. Like, no matter what, this is gonna make me feel good because you're aligning with who you are. And yeah, like you said, it's sustainable. Like, I don't want to necessarily go out for a run, but like yesterday, I drove an hour to ride 45 minutes on my dirt bike and then drove back an hour. But it is energizing to me because this is the type of cardio I want to do. And like, I could do that every day, but running every day, like,
yeah, these are some great examples. And I think that they can be applied into business, to relationships. In fact, I want to mention that I was 55 years old before I became a coach. Okay. And prior to that, I had 5 careers. And while there were highlights in each of those careers and things that I enjoyed about, well, I shouldn't say each of them. There were careers that I endured and never enjoyed. But for example, I was in the grocery business for 21 years in retail grocery. And I would say in those 21 years, I enjoyed about half of them. And I suffered through the other half. I'd never had a career, though, that where I could consistently say, boy, this is me. This is what I want to be doing. I love this, until I became a coach. Yeah. And even in the most challenging days for me in the past, it's been 15 years now. Over the past 15 years, even the most challenging days, losing clients, having upset clients, not having enough business, being worried if I could sustain it, all of those, I never lost my passion and love for coaching. Mm-hmm. It's only built. It's only gotten stronger, and it's energizing. It's only my fears and my worries that rob me of that energy. And what all that is, well, I'll put it this way because this is the way I've learned to speak now. Parts of myself that have concerns that it's my responsibility to address.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that has been more energizing versus the grocery business?
Well, for one thing, and I was talking to a client this morning about this. I can't work for other people. I did it for a long time. I started working when I was 15 years old, so I did it for 40 years. And I found it very difficult to do it their way. Anytime that I lost my autonomy and my choice, the energy just dropped. And then I had to kind of force myself to be who I needed to be, to make myself do what I didn't want to do.
Sounds hilarious.
As a coach, I have stood firmly in the awareness that I'm doing what I want to do. Even when things are difficult, I'm still doing it, and I'm clear about why I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. Doing what I'm doing because I want to be doing it. Even though there are aspects maybe of it that I'm not enjoying, taking risks, spending money that may not bring a return on investment on let's say marketing, for example, or on software or things that are supposed to be helping. Hiring help, as you mentioned earlier, I did that, and scared me to death to do so, to commit to spending X number of dollars every month and getting some help and wondering, was she going to work out okay? I can tell you it worked out great. I've had her for 3 years now, and she's worth every penny that I pay her. Yeah, just knowing and recognizing, I'd say, being grateful for the freedom and the autonomy that I found for myself, being grateful for finding the profession that I was born to have, and recognizing always that I'm in choice. I choose this.
Well, that's awesome. I love that. And I don't know if you feel this way, but one of the things I love about coaching, and my whole purpose is to be here to help others. When your life is focused on other people, and I think the number one thing that's the most important thing in life is our relationships. And when your life is focused on helping others, there's no end to that growth. And you're not sitting here focused on yourself and me and my problems and what's going on, especially when it comes to an intimate relationship. Tony Robbins says this, if you're only just focused on you in a relationship, you don't have a relationship. You have a relationship with yourself. And so the more the focus you are on others, you're not suffering. You sit by yourself and just think about you suffer. And so when you're thinking about helping others, that's like coaching. I don't know if you feel this way, but when I focus on others and helping others and doing things, it's creates gas for that engine. Then it's always going to be running. And why I have a hard time shutting it off.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I totally agree. It's one of the things when people, because I had a different career. I was an academic. I did a lot of thinking about myself, and when I discovered coaching, I'm like, oh my God, I could do this all day long because I'm not internally working, it's like I'm, and so my mind is clear, and there's an ecstasy to that, because I'm just there for the client. And yeah, it's totally energizing. It's funny, I a guy that I was partnering with in a coaching company at my beginning of my career, he used to find coaching brought his energy way down. I was like, well, I don't think you should be a coach, because for me, it's uplifting like nothing else.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, especially if you can get someone who is just like has so much weight on something, like on their shoulders and limiting belief. When you get that off of them, you can you can feel it. There's like their release of energy. You can feel there's I don't know what it is, but there's something to it. Like everyone's just like, did you feel that? like there's some sort of like euphoric feeling, just like, oh, this feels.
It's so true.
So good. I don't know what that is, but
I'll tell you what I think it is, and I don't know if you'll find this helpful or not. But in the internal family systems model, we refer to that as self energy, capital S, self energy. We all have it, and when we're all tapped into it, even to a small degree, we feel the connection. And I think this conversation that we're just now beginning to need to wrap up, that we had today, it took a while for us to have the self energy in this conversation. We were finding our way to it. And I would say probably in the last 15 or 20 minutes, it's there. And you felt it, I'm sure. You felt it, Marty. Something shifted. I don't know what happened, but we all just kind of relaxed a little bit.
Yeah.
And it showed up. And I think that's what you're talking about, is self energy. And it's
so quickly before we go, I think that's totally accurate. If somebody wanted to get some of that energy talking to you, Jake, how would they get in touch with you?
I got all the energy. A lot of different ways. So I'm biggest on Instagram. If you go to Jake Paul Turner, or you search YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, Jake Turner Podcast, just send me a DM. Especially on Instagram, I check all my DMs. We can have a conversation and have a quick 15, 30-minute call, see how I can help. So I typically just run people what it's like to be coached with me. And as long as they're motivated and they're ready to invest in themselves, we move forward. So yeah, all those different ways. Love to.
Jake Paul Turner.
Jake Paul Turner, correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
on Instagram, and then Jake Turner podcast on YouTube.
Thanks for being here today. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
Oh yeah, I feel like it just flew by. I'm like,
I know.
wait, we're
We
done?
Yeah, we're almost 55 minutes into it now. It's amazing how quickly time flies.
Maybe we'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, or one of you guys want to come to the podcast? Come to Nashville, so we'll do it in person. I usually coach some on my podcast, so one of you I would get some free coaching. That'd be fun as well.
Well, we can actually bring you back here, and you can coach one of us too.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Jake.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure.
We appreciate who you are, that you would be listening to this podcast, and want to acknowledge all those parts of you that yearn for the experience of the true you.
If you like this episode, click like, share it with others, and be sure to subscribe. Listen again next week for the newest episode.
Check show notes for a transcript and a link to resources, including a link to let us know if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast.
Thank you for listening and going on this journey with us back to the true you.